Hi, my name is Sandy Klein. I'm with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles. Today I'm going to speak about one of the fastest growing crimes in the country, identity theft. To help educate and protect you from this crime, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Central District of California and the U.S. Trustee's Office are sponsoring the Stop Identity Theft Now program, which focuses on the following 5 questions related to identity theft. What is identity theft? How does an identity thief get your personal information? How does an identity thief use your personal information? How can you protect yourself from identity theft? And what should you do if you're a victim of identity theft? Turning to the first question, what is identity theft? Identity theft is when someone else uses your personal identifying information, such as your name, your date of birth, or your social security number, to get many different things. They could get credit cards, loans or mortgages, utilities such as phone or electric service, employment, or even a place to live. And they get all of those things in your name. You may be asking yourself, why should you care about identity theft? What difference does it make? Well, you should care about and be aware of identity theft because a number of very significant things could happen to you if you are an identity theft victim. Your credit could be ruined if an identity thief gets credit cards issued in your name, runs up thousands of dollars of bills, and doesn't pay those bills. You could be arrested for a crime you didn't commit if an identity thief, while posing as you, commits a crime. You could be denied employment if a potential employer does a background check and finds bad credit or a criminal conviction in your name. You could be denied a place to live if an identity thief ruined your credit. Your wages could be garnished for debts that aren't yours if an identity thief, while posing as you, ran up large bills and didn't pay those bills. And your driver's license could even be revoked if an identity thief gets into an accident or gets traffic tickets issued in your name. Next, how does an identity thief get your personal information? An identity thief can get your personal information in many different ways. An identity thief can get your personal information by stealing your wallet or your purse. But it's important to note that an identity thief doesn't actually have to steal anything to begin impersonating you. That's because all an identity thief needs is certain information about you, such as your name, your date of birth, and your social security number to begin posing as you. An identity thief can get your personal information by finding it in your home. That's what a woman in the Midwest did. She got personal information about her roommates and her friends, and then used that information to get credit cards and open bank accounts in the names of her victims. Identity thieves can also get your personal information by finding it at your work. If an identity thief has access to your personnel file, the thief will have your full name, your social security number, and your date of birth, which is enough information to begin impersonating you. An identity thief can also get your personal information by just randomly using your social security number. The thief may live thousands of miles from where you do and may have absolutely no idea that the number he or she has begun using is actually assigned to you. Identity thieves can also get your personal information by listening to your telephone conversations. If you give out personal information over the phone, and if your conversations are overheard, you could be an identity theft victim. Identity thieves also get personal information by shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing is when someone looks over your shoulder to see the PIN, personal identification number, or password that you're inputting at an ATM machine or at a payphone. Now, it's important to note that an identity thief doesn't have to be standing right behind you to get that information. A shoulder surfer could be across the room or even across the street using binoculars or a camera to see your PIN or your password. Identity thieves can also get your personal information by dumpster diving. Dumpster diving is when someone goes through your trash and looks for anything containing personal information you may have thrown away. They'll be looking for bank statements, credit card statements, insurance records, medical bills, and especially those pre-approved credit applications. That's because all an identity thief needs to do with one of those applications is to forge your signature and change the mailing address for delivery of the credit card and monthly statements, and the thief will get credit issued in your name. Identity thieves may also get your personal information by stealing your mail. This is one of the most common ways that identity thieves get information about their victim. Frequently, after stealing your mail, an identity thief, while posing as you, will contact your bank or your credit card company and change the mailing address on your bank statements or your credit card statements. So you might not discover for weeks or even months that your identity has been stolen. Identity thieves can also get information about you by fraudulently obtaining your credit report. The thief may pose as someone who has a legitimate need for that report, such as a landlord or an employer, and the thief will then have all of your personal information. Identity thieves can also get your personal information by calling or sending mail or email with bogus promises of prizes. The thief may say, "Congratulations, Mrs. Jones, you've won a trip around the world. But before we can send your prize, we need to confirm that you're really the Mrs. Jones who won that prize. So if you'll just give us your name, your date of birth, and your social security number, we'll get that prize right out to you." Of course, what happens is after Mrs. Jones provides her personal information, she never receives any prize. Instead, Mrs. Jones becomes another identity theft victim. Now, how does an identity thief use your personal information? An identity thief can use your personal information to get credit cards issued in your name. That's what a man in Florida did. He got personal information about children who were patients in a hospital where he worked. He then used that information to get credit cards and identification cards in the names of those children. Identity thieves might also access your existing bank and credit card accounts, forge checks or debit cards, and then drain those accounts. Identity thieves may also open new bank accounts in your name. They will frequently deposit a small amount of money into those accounts and then write bad checks on the accounts. Identity thieves may also obtain loans or mortgages in your name or receive utilities or other services in your name. Identity thieves may also file a bankruptcy case in your name, which will negatively impact your credit. For those of you not familiar with the bankruptcy process, when a bankruptcy case is filed, an automatic stay goes into effect that immediately stops all debt collection proceedings against the debtor, that's the person filing the bankruptcy, or any property of the debtor. So if an identity thief has run up large bills or gotten a loan or mortgage in your name, the thief may file a bankruptcy case in your name to avoid paying debts, to avoid eviction, or to avoid foreclosure of a property that was bought in your name. Identity thieves may also commit crimes in your name. This is one of the most horrendous types of identity theft, because not only could your reputation be ruined, but you could be arrested and even placed in jail for a crime you didn't commit. That's what happened to a man in California. He was arrested and placed in jail on 5 separate occasions for a robbery and a murder he had nothing to do with. Those crimes had been committed by a previously convicted felon who assumed the victim's identity before committing those crimes. You may be asking yourself, how could this happen to you? You may have absolutely no idea. In fact, on the average, it normally takes more than a year between the time your identity is stolen and the time you discover you're an identity theft victim. It may also take several years to repair your credit and restore your good name. Next, how can you protect yourself from identity theft? Do not provide personal information over the phone, through the mail, or over the internet unless you placed the call or sent the letter or email and you know you're dealing with a reputable company. Although there are exceptions, generally companies that you do business with do not need to be asking for your personal information. They should already have that information in their files. If you get a call saying you want a prize, do not provide or confirm any information. As part of these scams, the identity thieves will frequently tell you you need to send a deposit, a down payment, or they'll make up some other excuse why you should be sending money. But if you really want a prize, there's no reason why you need to be paying for that prize. So do not send any money and do not provide any credit card information. Do not post personal information on the internet. You have no control over how your information could be used or who might access that information. Websites where you might be tempted to post personal information and might not be thinking about becoming an identity theft victim are family tree sites or class reunion sites, just to name two. Do not carry your Social Security card unless it's absolutely necessary. Your Social Security number is used in so many ways to identify you. Once an identity thief gets that number, it becomes much easier to impersonate you. If you live in a state where your Social Security number is your driver's license number, contact the Department of Motor Vehicles and ask them to issue you a new driver's license number. Guard your wallet or your purse. Do not leave your purse hanging over the back of a chair. Do not carry more credit cards than you need. Unless you're taking a trip, do not carry your passport or your visa. And do not carry your personal identification number or password in your wallet or your purse. If your wallet or your purse is stolen, the identity thief will have your account number as well as all of the information necessary to access your account. Make sure to keep your mail private. Get a locking mailbox or a post office box for delivery of incoming mail. Do not leave mail lying all over your home, especially if you have roommates or other people who come into your home on a regular basis. Do not allow your mail to pile up if you're going to be away. Have a neighbor or a friend pick it up for you or have it held at the post office until you return. And use a mailbox or the U.S. Post Office for outgoing mail. Do not leave outgoing mail in your home mailbox where it can easily be stolen. And unless you have a locking mailbox, have boxes of new checks delivered to your bank or to your post office box, not to your home. Make sure to be careful with personal information at home as well as when you travel. Make sure to use a telephone where your conversations cannot be heard if you need to provide personal information. Make sure no one is looking over your shoulder when you're at an ATM machine or at a payphone. And be aware that cell phone conversations can sometimes be intercepted and overheard, so do not provide personal information on a cell phone. Make sure to review your credit card and your bank statements each and every month and report any fraudulent activity immediately. Be aware of when you typically receive those statements each month, and if you don't receive them within a few days, contact your bank or your credit card company and make sure that no one has recently changed the mailing address on your account. In terms of your credit cards, shield your credit cards from view. When you're buying something, do not leave your credit card lying on the counter where someone who's nearby can see the information and either jot it down or even memorize it. Do not leave empty spaces on your receipts where additional amounts can be added. Never sign blank receipts. Make sure to total your receipts before signing. And keep copies of your receipts and compare them with your bills each and every month. Regarding your bank accounts, never sign blank checks. Do not leave empty spaces on your checks where additional amounts can be added. And make sure to balance your checkbook each and every month. You'll also need to check your credit reports every year. Now, there are 3 credit reporting agencies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and you need to request a copy of your report from each of these agencies because they get their information from different sources. When you get your credit report, make sure to review it very carefully. If there is any information that you believe is inaccurate, contact the credit reporting agency immediately. Call and send a follow-up letter telling them specifically what you believe is wrong. The credit reporting agencies must investigate unless they believe your claim is frivolous. Make sure to put passwords on all of your accounts. Do not choose passwords that are easy to guess, such as your mother's maiden name, your social security number, or your date of birth. Make sure to shred or tear up any documents with personal information. Also, make a list of all your bank accounts and credit card accounts and keep that list in a safe place. Keep copies of credit card statements, bank statements, and checks for at least a few years. Now, even if you take all of the precautions I've spoken about, it is possible that your identity could still be stolen. So what should you do if you're an identity theft victim? You need to take action immediately. And the first thing you need to do is to file a police report. You'll need that police report to dispute any fraudulent charges on your existing accounts or any fraudulent new accounts that were opened in your name. Also, if you send a copy of that report to the credit reporting agencies, they will block any information that's a result of the identity theft. You also need to contact your creditors. Make sure to close all affected accounts. Request that your account indicate it was closed at the consumer's request, and ask the creditor to contact you before opening any new accounts in your name or making any changes to your existing accounts. You may also need to stop payment on checks, request new ATM cards, and change your PIN or your passwords. You'll also need to contact the 3 credit reporting agencies. Place a fraud alert in your file. Add a victim statement to your file that contains your name, a statement of what happened, and a telephone number and address where you can be reached. Request that creditors contact you before opening any new accounts in your name. And request a free copy of your credit report. The credit reporting agencies must provide a free copy of a credit report to anyone who's been a victim of fraud. Also, contact the Federal Trade Commission at the toll-free number listed on the screen. This number is a hotline for identity theft victims to file complaints and to get information to help them repair their credit. Make sure to keep copies of all letters you write, a summary of all telephone calls you make, and receipts for all expenses you incur in trying to clear up your credit. If an identity thief is prosecuted and convicted, he may be ordered to compensate you for those expenses. Depending upon the type of fraud that's occurred, you may also need to contact the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, the IRS, the Passport Office, the Social Security Administration, the U.S. Postal Service, the U.S. Secret Service, or the U.S. Trustee's Office. Now, there are a number of federal statutes that can be used to prosecute identity thieves. The first is an identity theft statute that can be used to prosecute someone who uses your personal identifying information to commit a crime. An identity thief can be prosecuted for bank fraud or bankruptcy fraud if the thief got a loan or mortgage or filed a bankruptcy case in your name. An identity thief can be prosecuted for Social Security fraud if the thief fraudulently used your Social Security number. And the thief could be prosecuted for mail or wire fraud if the thief sent letters or placed telephone calls as part of an identity theft scheme. You are in the best position to protect yourself from identity theft. By realizing how easily your identity can be stolen, and by keeping your personal information private, you'll minimize the likelihood that your identity will be stolen. But if it does happen to you, don't despair. By taking the simple steps outlined in this program, you'll be able to reduce the amount of time it takes to repair your credit and restore your good name. Thanks so much for your time and attention. Thanks for coming.